Greetings YouTube, and welcome to the latest episode of Waking the Dragons, and today I'm going to be talking about the Duelist Advent, in particular some cards for dragons that are in here that I just want to talk about, and some other things too that are on my mind. So first things first is we now know the cover card of the Duelist Advent, and it is the ace monster of the main character Yuya, called Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. It's a level 7 dragon type dark pendulum effect monster with 2500 attack and 2000 defense. Wow, those stats are really familiar. I wonder why. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. This guy is basically a reimagined, upgraded version of the Red Eyes Black Dragon. It might be a bit of a stretch in this sense, but hear me out. The Red Eyes Black Dragon was always seen as the weaker of the two monsters between it and Blue Eyes. However, Red Eyes had the ability to evolve into much stronger forms. Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon, Darkness Metal Dragon, and basically all his fusion support to Black Skull and Meteor Black. So that's the thing that Red Eyes had going for it, and that kind of aspect makes really perfect sense for a main character ace monster, because look at what happened with Utopia and Stardust. They had so many forms, especially Utopia. So I already like this, and it's just really nice to see a main character with a dragon again. Stardust was pretty badass, not going to lie, so it's nice to have something like this again. And admittedly also, this thing is going to look really nice as a ghost rare. Just the fact that we're going to be getting ghost rare monster spell like creatures at the same time is pretty neat. I haven't really talked about pendulums much yet on here. I will get that to a point, but I will say though that the prospect of the summoning sounds interesting. It definitely has some applications for dragons that I'm really hopeful we'll be able to take advantage of. All forms of dragons will benefit from pendulum summons, especially some of the older dragon decks like Disaster and Chaos. If pendulums work out the way I think they do, it will allow us to at least get some shit from our hands onto the board that we may not be able to get otherwise, and it'll help the ease in which we set up certain plays. That being said, let's get on to this guy's actual effects. So, you can only use the first and second effects of pendulum. You can only use the first and second pendulum effects of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon once per turn each. The first one is you can reduce the battle damage you take from a pendulum monster being in a battle to 0, and during your end phase you can destroy this card, and if you do, add one pendulum monster with 1500 attack or less from your deck to your hand. The first effect is okay. Granted, we probably won't be using the non-dragon pendulum monsters in the monster zone very often, but it's still something that will be helpful. The second effect, though, is really strong. You can destroy this card, which, if I'm correct, would then put it into the extra Zek zone, because it's being destroyed while in the spell and trap card zone. At least I believe that's how pendulums work. But anyway, you blow this card up, and you can add any pendulum monster with 1500 attack or less from your deck to your hand. Right now, this is a really good ability. In the future, though, this could be a really strong ability, depending on other kind of pendulum monsters that will be made available to us. If we get a dragon-type pendulum monster with 1000 attack that has a pendulum effect of you can special summon a dragon-type monster from your deck, then that already makes this thing pretty good because it can search out that type of monster that can then pull out stuff. And the fact that he's level 7 dark means he's searchable through Eclipse Wyvern. That in itself is good too, because you can just Eclipse Wyvern this thing out. Then you can banish Eclipse Wyvern, add this to your hand, then play it in the spell and trap card zone. If you have another one of these in the other spot of the pendulum scale, then you can special summon as many level 4 monsters as you want from your hand. At least I'm thinking that's how it goes. So he already has some good applications in Dragon decks, and in his last effect, if this monster battles an opponent's monster, the opponent takes double battle damage. This may seem meh, but trust me, it will matter in some situations, just being able to do more battle damage. Like, if this thing attacks a 1900 monster, you're doing 1200 damage to them instead of 600. If this attacks a 1500 floater, you're doing 3000. If your opponent has a monster with O attack and you manage to switch it to attack because of enemy controller, i.e. a scapegoat or a dandelion token, and this thing attacks the token, that's 5000 damage, people. That will make a difference here and there. And it's level 7, so you can also overlay it with Dragon Rulers into your rank 7s. Very good card. I definitely want to pick up a playset of this. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is they're introducing a new monster type called Genryu Zoku, i.e. Legendary Mythic Dragons. And yeah, that's basically what it is Konami is making a new type of dragon that aren't dragons. And, well, I'll actually give my thoughts on that later on, but first, we're also getting an archetype that is based around these Genryokus. I don't know what they're going to call them in English. Legendary Mythic Dragons? Whatever. They're all called Dragon Stars. And Dragon Stars are basically Gustos mixed in with some other effects. They all have the effect of when they're destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Dragon Star monster other than the one that was blown up. Like Gustos, basically. This one's a level 1 tuner, and his second effect is when a Dragon Star monster you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this guy from the graveyard, but if you do, banish it when it leaves the field. So a level 1 floating tuner monster that can self-revive itself if you blow up your guy. Pretty good. Now admittedly, you can only use the effects of these guys once per turn, or once per turn each, depending on what they are, but they're already looking pretty strong. They have a level 8 Synchro Boss Monster, which I'm willing to bet is the main character's rival's boss monster. This thing is probably going to be a 3,000-2,500 attack dragon. I'm just thinking that's what it is. This looks like something that will appear in the anime, and it'll probably look really nice. The anime apparently is going to be doing all kinds of monster summons, so we'll be getting fusions, synchros, Xyz, and rituals. I'm hoping so. Anyway, so back to the rest of these guys. So Light Dragon Star Refund, already good. Then we got Earth Dragon Star Heiken, level 3 Earth. Stats are unknown. You're going to use the effect of this guy once per turn, so you can only use one of these effects. When this card is blown up, special summon a Dragon Star other than itself from the deck in defense. During your opponent's main phase or battle phase, you can perform a Synchro Summon using only Dragon Star monsters you control as Synchro Materials. And then a monster Synchro Summon using this card as Synchro Material can't be blown up in battle. Okay, so they have the ability to Accel Synchro, but they're not Synchro Tuner monsters. So this thing plus this thing allows you to Synchro Summon into a Balmung. Okay. And then our other guy is Fire Dragon Star Shunge. It's a level 4 Fire Dragon Mythic type monster. Really? A level 4 Fire 1900 thing that could have been a dragon? Disappointing. Oh well, you're going to use the effect of this guy once per turn. When this card is destroyed, you can special summon a Dragon Star monster itself, blah blah blah. During your opponent's main phase or battle phase, you can Accel Synchro using Dragon Star monsters you control. And a Synchro monster summoned using this card as material gets 600 attack and defense. Okay. So, the ideal situation, I guess, is to get this, and this, and this on board at the same time, which allows you to summon this. It'll be plus 600 attack and defense, and it can't be destroyed in battle. Huh. That being said, though, I like this, and at the same time, I'm also disappointed in this, because them making a new kind of dragon monster, but at the same time they're not actually dragons, is pretty much Konami admitting, hey, we've broken dragons themselves to the point that we can't fix them anymore, so we're just going to reset the whole thing by making new kinds of dragons that aren't actually dragons, so they can't be banished for dragon rulers, special summon with Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, and in the case of these two guys, you can't summon them off of Mash Dragon, which is disappointing. You can't get them back with Divine Dragon Apocalypse. So basically, all the old dragon type support can't be used with these guys because they're not actually dragons. They're Genryus, as opposed to dragons being referred to as Doragon. I think. My Japanese weebooing is terrible. Hush. And while I am happy that at least Odd Eyes is an actual dragon, it just makes me wonder, will dragons get like less stuff in the future in exchange for these guys, or will they actually try and strike a balance between dragons and mythical dragons? And will Tree and Water Dragon be errated into legendary mythicals? No, I don't think so. No, they won't. Although Dragonlong could also be errated into a mythical. Interesting. But it does make me wonder what the future has in store for dragons. There's still dragons in essence, so you know what? Screw it. I'll go behind these guys. There are dragons that also synchro. This is something we wanted a long time ago. So I'm going to be picking up these guys in addition to these guys. I'll actually try and start a collection of Genryu monsters. And Yeah, what are your thoughts on the fact that we're getting basically Dragons 2.0 that can't be used with Dragons 2.1? And could Konami actually try and take this approach to other types in the futures, like Warriors? Oh, we busted Warriors beyond all recognition. Let's just make new ones called Fighters, and you can't rota them out. That being said, though, that concludes this video. Your thoughts on Duelist Advent the set as a whole? I really like. I'm pretty certain I'm going to actually buy a box of this stuff because it has so much for me. It's got the what do they call them again? Satella Knights. I already wanted those things. Now I've got this guy. I've got these guys, and there's even some stuff for me to collect too. Like, let me just dig it up real. This thing. Yeah, Shaldal Nephilim. That monster looks awfully familiar, doesn't it? That being said, yeah, that concludes the video, so until next time, people, this is BooStar899, jacking out.